Okay, so here we are in Roman's garage where he keeps his Honda that he runs in the 2K Cup, number 999. During this video we'll just be going over what products he's using, what setups he's running, and probably just a bit more background about the Honda Integra since you know so much about it. So I guess first off, where'd you buy the car from?
Exactly 2 years ago, earlier in the week, we bought this car just about 20 km away from Hampton Downs, this little village. I can't remember the name now. Bought from some young guy. Initially it was $2,700. I had it on my watch list. Keep looking at it, and then I saw the price come down to 21. So I made an offer, $2,000, and he's kindly accepted it. So I was on my way with cash from work. So checked it through on the fitness, needed trailing arm bushes, engine mounts were split, exhaust leaks, you name it, for everything for a 20-year-old car with 250,000+ Ks on it.
Yeah, so not in race condition. We'll probably have a quick look over the car and you can just give us your 2 cents worth about what to change, what's worked for you, what hasn't. So let's go have a look.
Yeah, so here we have a nice fun example. DZII DZII engine. This car is a 1993. Ks on the car at the moment are sitting at about 256 Ks. The engine is original, untouched. I haven't done any work to the engine at all, apart from changing the leads and new spark plugs. I did recondition the distributor because that's quite a weak point on this. The coil tends to go. Igniter issues as well, so it's something that one of the weakest points, so something to look at. Obviously, as any 20-year-old car, been boy raced all its life, had a pot filter, chrome intake pipe, so that's obviously to be eligible for racing, everything had to come off. We got standard air intake and standard air box, actually the same as the 1600 Integras, so the throttle body side all the same, the intake, everything's the same. Except on the 1600 you'll probably get a bridle resonator sitting there, which is not an issue, just kills the noise, doesn't affect the performance. So yeah, the rest was had rusty water in the coolant, so they all had to come off and cleaned out. Factory, these engines were making 180 horsepower, brand new. So the recent dyno runs that showed it's making healthy 96 kilowatts.
Yeah, I've got a dyno graph here. Not too sure how well we'll see it on the camera. That's showing the car's making 95 kilowatts, and you've also fitted, for testing, you fitted a Type R cam just to show the difference between a standard cam and a Type R cam. Yeah. And what did you find looking there? The solid line is the correct standard cam. Yeah. And the faint red line is the Type R cam.
So I did one of the Uncle's Club track days with the Type R cam. The car felt really sluggish, had no download torque. Because simple reason, the Type R cam profile is a lot higher, and on these engines the VTEC engages at 4000 RPM, and basically it's not making any power. You just lose down. It's totally waste of time if you're putting Type R cams in. It's not working unless you get a cheap or aftermarket ECU to make it compatible with standard ECU.
So you've shown us doing back-to-back dyno testing is about 2 kilowatts and running illegal camshafts. What should a prospective Honda buyer or someone who's recently bought a Honda check out for on the ECU side, and how much can be gained there by cheating?
So yeah, I've got a standard ECU from a 1600 DZII, which is same size, looks everything the same except the part number will be slightly different there in the middle, from P30 to P72 for 1800. Easy to inspect. You just pop the top cover off, another 4 little screws. You've got another circuit board here. There's just another 4 screws to take off, and next thing to look out for, this little space here. At the moment it's empty because this ECU is standard and cheap, but if the car's ever been on a dyno or ever been chipped, you see another extra chip inserted in here, and there'll be a couple of little resistors added on as well. But so it's really easy to identify if it's nice and empty. ECU stock, if there's something sitting here, that's probably illegal ECU, and you have to replace it for stock one. Yeah, it does use a bit of oil. So last round James, in 1 hour, used probably from full mark to low mark, which is probably common within specs, I guess, for the engine with such case. I do tend to top up oil a bit higher, probably close to 10 millimeters over the full mark, just to be on the safe side. And so when James finished the 1 hour race, sitting on the low mark exactly. So we're talking about 300 ml of oil that's burnt through the exhaust, past the rings, valve stem seals, you name it.
Yeah, and you've got all the standard engine mounts and all that in the motor?
All engine mounts are standard. Recently, actually, I've upgraded the lower torque mounts, they call it, to hard race ones. They're all standard, standard rubber, just a little bit harder. It's not elastane, technically all leachable with the 2K cap rules. These cars do flex a lot in the rear because there's no back panel, as you can see. It's all just open. All you got is just the bottom floor. So the half cage for Honda Integra is actually quite a good mod to stiffen up the old chassis. It's not been designed for racing.
The rear of your Honda Integra, and I can see you've definitely done the springs. Do you want to talk about the springs and possibly anything else you've done in the rear?
Yeah, so the rear end is it's been tweaked up a little bit. So we've got Neuspeed springs, which I find probably one of the best springs you can get for Honda Integra. They've got a nice rate to them. The brakes obviously can't be upgraded or anything, so I'm just running standard 240mm discs with normal road brake pads in the rear. There's nothing fancy in the rear of this car. The trailing arm bushes was been replaced when we bought the car for some standard ones from Partmaster. They're quite cheap, $30–40 we're looking at. Other thing is to look at the lower trailing arm, the lower arms there. The bushes tend to wear out, so maybe something to look at. Pull your lower arms out. Look at the bushes there. If they cracked, it's probably just worth replacing for a second-hand used low arm.
The front of your Honda Integra, and again I can see those yellow springs. What have you done at the front?
Yep, so basically when you buy Neuspeed springs, they come a set of 4, front and rears obviously. I do have some rubber spacers here that I had to put in because the car went too low. The shocks start bottoming out, start rubbing on the inside the lip here. Actually was damaging the tire and creating a lot of smoke, especially in the hard corners.
So did I hear you bottoming out the shocks? So you're running standard shocks?
Shocks are completely standard. I sort of went around. I've done a few upgrades in my garage with the different shocks. So just went around my garage to find the best shocks I could get. So we put the springs out, give it a few times to see how fast it comes out, how firm it is, and sort of found the best set here. So no build stains, not adjustable in any way, absolutely. So recently I've had to replace the rotors and front calipers because the James ran out of pads on the enduro race. So luckily I had some spare calipers and just bought new rotors a couple of days ago. So that's sort of what I've been doing this morning, grading. So not long ago I had to replace the tie rods because started developing play. They do get a lot of stress under race condition, so it's worth checking after a race if the ball joints start to develop a play. Also should mention that this low arm here, these 2 bushes, one's that's sitting underneath, one at the bottom of this fork, and one other end that attaches to the front cross member. Those bushes do tend to wear out quite badly. To the point the rubber is not there anymore, and basically we're talking about the metal insert basically banging on your lower arm. So that's something to look at, something to to replace. They're not expensive at all. We're talking about maybe $15–20 from genuinely from Honda, genuine part. What it is in the front, everything's standard. You can't buy the 2K cap rules. You can't do anything to the front end of the interior in the car. All you can do is just front. You can upgrade the steering wheel, the seats and harnesses. So Gearbox harnesses is our 2K cap sponsor. So you know, if you're looking into getting into the 2K cap, yeah, definitely worth talking to Keith. So I did a little upgrade on the steering wheel. That's actually from Integra Type R. It's a little leather covered. I like the size of it. I like the thickness of it. Prefer to change the gear knob on it as well, because the original one was just pretty much glued on and you could take it off with one motion. Didn't get the car with any stereo or any speakers. The guy kept it all for, you know, basically we negotiated on the price, or maybe he just didn't hit it. Got a couple of mounts there. I got a camera mount, so it's worth getting one that's to record your race, just in case, you know, there's any accidents and there's some arguments. So it's probably worth having a camera in the car. And I've got a little phone mount there as well, so just to see how far ahead you in the race and how much longer is it to go in there. Yeah.
You just want to give us a quick brief of what you're using in the Integra. I see you got all the boxes there.
Yeah, keep all the boxes. Makes it easier next time you order parts. You got a part number there. So I guess we'll start from rotors. This comes from Partmaster, super cheap. Trade price it's a lot better, obviously, but we're looking about well under $100. As you can see, big made in China, nothing special. So we got the part number here for the Neuspeed spring. This is the box we were talking about before. This one's got the hard race engine mounts. This is the 2 mounts I was talking about. As you can see, they're pretty stuffed. A lot of bashing, torn and split. So you could upgrade to one of these hard race engine mounts. As you can see, they're not elastane, just a little bit stiffer rubber. Then, so the CV joint is the weakest point in the Integra, especially when you do 1 hour enduro races. So I'm using some Fargo CV joints, which I get from ADL. Again, they not expensive at all. Comes with a brand new boot, grease, everything. Yeah, so we got here the box for rear brake pads, stop tech. Again, it comes with Partmaster, part number DB1163. They semi-metallic disc pad, so nothing fancy. The front pads, since we car importers, we do a lot with people in Japan. I managed to come across this particular brand. Pretty hard to get probably in New Zealand if you don't know anyone in Japan, because there's no distributors here probably that can help you get these pads, but I find them quite good. Probably last 3 rounds. I know a lot of people you tend to use endless pads and Pirodos. That's another common choice. EBCs as well. My brake fluid, Motul 600 RBF. Again, you can get from Partmaster, ADL. Just mention the name and they should be able to source this for you. You can get a 660 as well, which is even higher boiling point. I found 600 works fine for me. Never tend to bleed the brakes throughout the whole season. They're really good. Antifreeze, just standard again from Partmaster, just because the work will have a count there, so I get good trade prices. Nothing special, just normal antifreeze. Oil, ELF 5W40, really good oil, excellent for long runs, especially like half an hour plus. Doesn't disintegrate, sort of still stays in shape. Pretty happy with this oil. Still uses, my car still uses it, but yeah, that's probably just the rings or valve steam seals. Recently, most of my life I've been running in just normal engine oil in my gearbox, which is by the book. If you open up Honda manual, you know it will say that you can use either genuine Honda MTF or 10W engine oil. So being a cheap bastard, I was using engine oil. But recently, for the last round, I replaced for this gearbox oil. And James said it made a great improvement in the gearbox and shifting and how the LSD was working. so I guess that's probably the way to go in the future. Just use this oil. Yeah, that's pretty much all the products I use. There's nothing else. Other thing I should mention, the wheel alignment specs. That's probably really important for the guys that's starting. What's the best and what's the run. So in the 2 years of 2K Cup, I've tried a few different settings, and sort of last year I found that for my car, with the set of springs that I'm using and Dunlop Z2 tires, I'm running 1.5 mil toe out in the front and 0.5 mil toe out in the rear. That's we're talking about each side. So total will be 3 mil toe out in the front and 1 mil toe out in the rear. I found that toe out in the rear helped to reduce the understeer. Yeah, so I think that's probably the best settings for my car. You should try your own settings as well. See if you like it, but that's what works for me. The car goes good with them.
Yeah, cool. So I see you've got a tyre there. Do you just want to give us a brief overview of what pressures you're running and like any advice to anyone?
Sure. So we've got a Dunlop Z2 tyre, 200 tread wear, so legal for 2K Cup. Can't run anything under. This compound is really nice, sticky tyre, probably one of the best ones you can get if you want to go fast. I'm running the tyre pressure we should talk about probably. So I'm running 32 hot in dry. Talking about front and rear. Wet is different story. I tend to run tyre pressures a lot higher. We're talking about 30 for cold and 29 or 30, actually 32 cold in the rear. So yeah, that sort of worked really well for me at the last round I drove in Talpa. Came from the back to the front, and yeah, the car handled really well. The first rate wasn't so good. I had the tire pressures wrong, too low. Yeah.